Well, I think what we saw today is that this committee, the Liberal members on this committee, are acting as agents as part of a broader cover-up on the part of the PMO. So it's very clear that they're not serious about getting to the bottom of what happened so that Canadians can get the answers that we deserve.
And from my perspective, sorry, I'll lean into the mic. And okay, so I'm just going to go this way now. Now that we have, okay. Sorry. So from my perspective, it was very telling for me that when we brought the motion to ask the Prime Minister to waive his solicitor-client privilege, that the Liberal part of the committee also voted that down. I mean, she has resigned from her cabinet position. She was demoted from Attorney General to Veterans Affairs. Clearly something has happened that has caused her to want to leave cabinet. She's retained Thomas Cromwell to be her lawyer. There's something there, and we just want to hear from her. We just want to let her speak, and we want her to come into the committee to do it, but clearly the Liberals are not interested in hearing from Jody Wilson-Raybould, and I'm very disappointed by that.
Do you have any hope that they say they're going to hold this meeting next week, that the list can be expanded? Do you have any confidence that indeed will happen?
No, I don't. I have no confidence. They had an opportunity today to have the three people who have been intimately involved in this issue, who have been reported to be involved in this issue, Gerald Butts, Jody Wilson-Raybould, and Mr. Bouchard, the ones that had the most contact with SNC-Lavalin and Jody Wilson-Raybould herself. And they said no. They had an ample opportunity to say, yes, we could have had the discussion there. You know, it's very disappointing. I know that word's being used an awful lot these days, but the reality is that not only should Ms. Wilson-Raybould come forward to talk about it because there's an important point of law of political interference with the Attorney General, but as well, her reputation has been dragged through the mud, the Liberal mud, for the last 2 weeks. And quite frankly, I want to hear from her so she can clear her name.
Do you think there's any, under the motion that was passed, is there any hope you can get at the issues of what happened, or is this just going to be an academic study of the
Well, I mean, as a starting point, what we wanted was an open hearing so that we could have a discussion about which witnesses would appear. We tried to do that today. And at the end of the day, what the Liberals decided to do was that they didn't want to talk about it in public. They didn't want to allow Canadians to hear the reasons why they're afraid of the likes of Gerald Butts appearing before our committee. So that's again part of the fact that this is a cover-up. And as far as, talking about deferred prosecution agreements and talking about the Shawcross principles, this is all part of a diversion. This is all part of an effort on the part of the Liberals to drag this matter out. At the end of the day, this is really not that complicated. This is about the fact that certain officials in the PMO were alleged to have put pressure on the former Attorney General to interfere in a criminal investigation. Nothing more, nothing less. It's quite obvious that if those allegations are true, they're wrong, and individuals who are implicated in that wrongdoing must be held accountable. And as a starting point, what we had proposed was to allow our committee to hear from those witnesses forthwith. The Liberals aren't interested in that. They're interested in covering this up. And so I don't have much confidence in that this committee is going to be able to get to the bottom of this. At this point in time, in light of what we saw from the Liberals today, we're going to look at all of our legal options to see what other alternatives can be pursued so that we can get answers that Canadians deserve.
What does that mean? You mentioned this more judicial inquiry, but to my knowledge, that's something the PMO would have to or is there a way to do this outside?
Well, we're going to go back and we're going to caucus as a team, and we're going to take a look at the options that we have. We'll discuss them, of course, first, and then our leader will weigh in and make a decision on. But he's made the promise already that we will get to the bottom of this for Canadians and that every tool is available, everything's on the table. And if the Liberals think that this issue is going to be smothered by what they did today, then they're kidding themselves, because we will be relentless on this matter. We will get to the bottom. That's a call for the leader, but we will understand all of our options and we will utilize them in the appropriate way to ensure that Canadians get to the bottom of this. It really is that important. It really is to the heart of the rule of law in this country. And I'm not going to let Liberals try to smother this issue by putting us into an academic study on what the Shawcross principle is, which, by the way, none of you guys know what it is, but you probably are going to learn a lot about it in the coming weeks. But that's the reality of it.
What do you make of the Liberals accusing this of being just political theater?
I don't know how they can say that given what we've witnessed as, real theater in the past 2 weeks of the Prime Minister's story continuously changing. First, there was no conversations. 4 days later, there was a conversation, but it wasn't a direction. The Attorney General gives a series of interviews on the weekend that seem to imply two things. Number one, he believes that there doesn't need to be an investigation, and number two, the SNC deferment is back on the table and that he hasn't made a decision. And now we have Jody Wilson-Raybould resigning from Cabinet, consulting her counsel as to what she can legally say, because clearly she wants to say something. So no, we're putting those facts forward and we're just letting Canadians see them all. No different than what everybody reports every single night in the news. We're saying exactly the same things here that you're saying when you report this. And for me, it's important for us to get to the bottom of it for Canadians. Well, I would go back to when Jody Wilson-Raybould was named the new Veterans Minister, because if you notice at the time, there was an article in the Toronto Star where they started the whisper campaign already about how she was difficult to get along with. That was the first inkling I knew that something was wrong. And then her letter came at the same time, and that was the second inkling that I knew something was wrong. And now we're beginning to see the whole scheme unroll before our eyes, and we just want to put it in a process of Parliament, and they refuse it, so now we have to look and see what else we can do.
Maybe